Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the December 14th episode of Monday Marketing Minutes. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time to tune in on a Monday morning early like this. My name is John Torino. I am the sole proprietor of John Torino Marketing and Connections, a local marketing and consulting firm here in Portland, Oregon. I help people figure out who their target markets really are, what messages will resonate with those folks, and what media is best for delivering it. So if you need marketing consulting help, please do remember that I am here to help you do that. I also do a lot of networking in the Portland area, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later on. Monday Marketing Minutes is basically a program that I've put together, runs each week, to answer your questions about marketing. I have put together some tips for you. I have put together some advice for you. But mainly the objective here was to answer your questions, to let you ask them either in advance or live. Now, today's program is a little bit of a reprise of last week's program because for some reason the YouTube replay of last week's got truncated down from 34 minutes to 10 minutes. So there's not much of the beginning of the program. So I thought I'd just repeat the advice and the tips and the questions from the viewers that have come in during this past week. But I would encourage you should be able to see a questions box on your Google Hangout there. Encourage you to ask your questions in real time as I go along, and I'll be happy to address those. So today's guest speaker is actually going to be a video that I'm going to play. It's a video that I did not too long ago on authority versus power, and it's been very popular on YouTube, so I thought I would share it with you here. But I would invite you, if you have something you think is worthwhile to say to my viewers about marketing, I'd love to have you as a guest on the program, in a future program. It's very easy to get you set up with Google Hangouts and Google On Air, and just make sure that we can do the technical pieces. You can do it from your local location. So if you would like to be a guest, please do send me an email, john@johntorino.com, and we'll see if we can't get you onto a future program. So with that, let's talk a little bit about today's tips. Today's tips, and this graphic, the little flow chart you see, comes from an infographic that I put together and a book called Marketing Plan Development. They're both available at no cost. If you would like to have a copy of either the infographic or the ebook, just send me a request, again, to john@johntorino.com. I'll be happy to send it to you. But what it's basically talking about is when you're getting ready to do your marketing planning, particularly now that we're embarking on a new year, you want to take into account your constraints. And by that, I mean your internal issues. What are your product characteristics or your service offering characteristics? If, for example, you are selling something that needs to be manufactured, will you have production capabilities to meet the demand, hoping that you actually sell a lot of them? What are your budget limitations, particularly your marketing budget? If you don't have a budget for doing the social media management or the email management or print or media, that could really hamper your ability to achieve your business goals. So, and on characteristics, if you're looking at a service business, you may find that if you're doing it one-on-one, you're limited by the number of days, hours in a day, or days in a week. Whereas if you're doing one-to-many, or doing a webinar or a broadcast or a podcast, you may not have that kind of a constraint. So you want to think about these things. Think about the constraints that are limiting you. Think about production capabilities, and think about your budgets as you begin to plan your marketing for 2016 and beyond. And remember the 3 M's, as I call them: markets, messages, and media. What I mentioned in the beginning, I help you figure out who your target markets really are. If you don't know who your top 20% are, and why they are your top 20%, you're probably missing some opportunities to be able to find more people like that top 20%. So if you're not taking advantage of your Google Analytics or your LinkedIn statistics or your Facebook insights, it's important to do that. Know those markets, know where your business is coming from, so you can identify additional places to find new business. What messages are resonating with your clients? Why are they buying? Sometimes it's as simple as asking them what messages resonate, what do they really like, and making sure that future messages meet those needs. You'll also want to make sure that your messaging is consistent over all your platforms, your website, your email look and feel, your social media, so that it looks like it's all coming from one company with one message and one purpose. So, and your messages, you want them to resonate not only in the brain, but you want them to resonate in the belly as well. People make emotional buying decisions, whether they like to admit it or not. And so we need to appeal to their emotions with our messages, as well as to their logic, which they use to justify their emotional decision. And then do think about the media. If you're selling online worldwide, then clearly the social media is probably a good place to be spending your time and effort. But you want to think about what kind of product or service you're selling. Is it business to business, where LinkedIn might be a better platform than Facebook or Instagram? Or is it consumer, where Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest might be more useful to you in terms of reaching the markets that you want to reach? So these are all things you want to think about. These are the tips on what to think about when you're doing your marketing planning for next year and beyond. I mentioned there's an ebook available, and that ebook talks about the 7 steps that go into marketing planning and execution. It's available, again, free of charge. All you have to do is request it. And it talks about prospect identification, which I covered a little bit in our tips today. Let's find out where our prospects hang out. If it may be groups on LinkedIn or Facebook groups, if it may be physical meetups where we have to go out and do face-to-face networking so that people get to know us and like us and trust us and want to do business with us. Look at the resource requirements again. There's nothing worse than putting forth a product offering and finding out that you've really got a winner on your hands, but you can't deliver, and you make everybody upset. In the process of doing your marketing planning, once you've gathered the data that's necessary, you want to do some brainstorming. Brainstorm some strategies, brainstorm some ideas, brainstorm some messages. And during that brainstorming operation, you really don't do any criticism of the ideas. Some of the ideas may be totally off the wall, but that's okay. What you'll do after you've got as many ideas pulled together as you can is try to match them up with each other, and then start to match them up with prospects, match them up with messages, and begin to develop your strategy. Once you have a strategy that you believe is viable, then you begin to work on the tactics for implementation. And equally important, if not even more important, is making sure during the planning process that you plan for mechanisms to measure the effectiveness of your marketing. Again, whether that's Google Analytics or LinkedIn statistics, or analyzing your customer base names and addresses for maybe it's geographical. Whatever those characteristics are, you need to be able to measure your effectiveness. How much of your calls to actions are converting for you? Do some A/B strategy testing to see which messages work better, or which times of day work better for sending emails, or which email titles work better, or subjects. So you want to be able to measure it, because if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So you need to be able to do that measurement process. And you need to put that in place before you start the implementation, not after. And you'll be fine-tuning your marketing activities on an ongoing basis. We find out what's working and we do more of that. We find out what's not working and we do less of that. So again, these are kind of the 7 steps that I consider the key ones in marketing, planning, and execution to help you do the best job of marketing that you can. Now we're going to take a kind of a sidestep here off the topic of marketing per se and go into a topic that I used to teach when I did seminars all over the world many years ago. And that topic has to do with authority versus power. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast, I did a video of this. It's up on YouTube and it's become pretty popular. So I want to play it for you today. The technology is interesting here in that with this XSplit broadcast software, I can get, as you see, me up here and a slide up here and your request for questions up here. I can also play the video, but for some reason, the video from YouTube, the sound from the YouTube video does not incorporate itself into the Google Hangout. So I'm going to move the microphone close to my speakers so that you'll be able to hear the video as we play it. So bear with me and we will get you going on authority versus power. I'd like to talk to you about the difference between authority and power. How many of you know or think you know the difference between authority and power? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, quite a few of you. Now for a tougher question. How many of you are willing to share with me what you believe the differences are? Can I see that show of hands? Okay. I'm going to pick you over there. Let's hear what you think. All right, good answer. Very interesting. Not exactly what I was looking for, but close. And how about you over there? All right, also a very good answer. Not exactly what I was looking for. The true difference, in my view, between authority and power is that authority is something that someone gives to you. And because they give it to you, they can take it away. It is fleeting. It is not permanent. Someone gives you the authority to sign purchase orders for amounts up to $500. If you want to spend more than that, you have to go to someone with higher authority, typically the person who gave you your authority. And the chain of command kind of goes up that way. Power, on the other hand, is something that you give yourself. It comes from within. No one else gives it to you. You give it to yourself, and therefore, no one can take it away. I often talk about visual image formation as a method of goal achievement. The basic tenets of that, and it's really not some weird California cult, have to do with making a mental picture of how things will be once you've accomplished what you wish to accomplish, and coupling that with a good feeling, because your subconscious wants you to feel good. So you couple your mental picture with a good feeling. Getting married, presuming that was a happy experience, or maybe lying on the beach in Maui. Whatever it may be, you have the power to connect the feeling to the picture. And then your subconscious will go to work to help you do the things you need to do to make reality as it is today, make reality as it matches your picture. This stuff works. Trust me, it really works. Athletes use it. All kinds of professionals use it to visualize and mentally practice where they're going and how they're doing it. So here's an example. All right, just true story. I always only tell true stories, because if you don't tell true stories when you speak in public, you're very likely to get in real trouble. One of my clients, 1,000-people company, while I was doing the seminar work in the 80s, had a document control department that controlled all the engineering drawings. And they also did the big copy jobs, some of the rush jobs, and they also did the office supply distribution. And they were constantly being interrupted in the big rush jobs by people who needed pencils or pens or paper clips or staples or whatever. So one day the manager decided to put out a memo. And this memo said, beginning with, in order to serve you better, and let me tell you, anytime you see something that says in order to serve you better, watch out. The pain is coming. It's going to bite where it hurts. In order to serve you better, from now on, you will get office supplies if you requisition them on Tuesday mornings between 9 and 10 and pick them up on Thursday afternoons between 3 and 4. They printed 1,000 copies, put it all over the organization except for the highest mucky mucks and their executive assistants. So the ones on Mahogany Row didn't get this memo. The rest of the organization did, and what happened? The behavior of 98% of that organization was changed. No more interruptions. Now, who gave that manager, I don't remember whether it was a he or a she at this point, who gave that manager the authority to put out that memo, to make that decision, to change the behavior of that whole organization? And the answer is no one. He or she gave themselves the power to do it. They had the tools, which was pretty helpful as well. So you have the power to do anything. I can talk about who has the power in a meeting. Usually the person with the chalk or the person with the clicker or me standing up here right now. But if someone else were to stand up, they would assume the power out of the meeting. Assume you're in a meeting where you've got a thing that you really want to push, and the decision makers are in the meeting, and the conversation is going on to something like, oh, we really need to save some money. And you jump up, and you walk up to the front of the room, and you grab the chalk or the pen or the writer, the marker, and you say, I apologize for interrupting, but what you said, sir, really brought it home to me. And what I want to propose is the following. And you propose what it is you want, and you shut up after you've asked, shall we start it on Tuesday or Thursday? What's going to happen? A lot of people are going to sit there and say, you're out of your mind for doing that. But what if all of a sudden the boss says, do it? You have accomplished a coup d'etat. You have the power to do anything you want. When you take the chalk, there's a requirement, and that is you better be right. But you have the power to take the chalk. So there is magic in the power that you have within you. You can be anything you want to be. You have that power. I wanted to share that that talk with you because, as I say, it's become fairly popular on YouTube, and I think that it's worth thinking about and worth listening to when you're talking about setting your New Year's resolutions coming up. Again, I'd invite you to ask as many questions as you can today. I haven't seen any come in yet, but this is where you get your answers to your questions. This is where we'll look at the burning issues that are affecting you and your marketing. I used to say again all the time, the only stupid question is a question you don't ask, because you're guaranteed to never get an answer. And I'll reiterate that if you don't ask the question, I certainly can't answer it for you. So put them up in real time in the questions box on the Google Hangout. It's not rocket science. It's not difficult to do, and I'll be happy to answer them. In the meantime, let me go forward here one more picture and talk a little bit about the questions that came in between the last episode and then this morning. The questions that came in dealt with, number one, can you expound a little bit about the difference between features and benefits? Actually, I can expound a lot about the difference between features and benefits, but I have a little booklet called The Piano Story, Getting to Yes in the Sales Process, that goes into it in quite a bit of depth. And I think it sells for like $4.99 or $4.95. Very inexpensive book. But let's think about features versus benefits. Suppose you're selling dandruff shampoo. Do you talk about the zinc pyrithione in it, or do you talk about the red dye or green dye number 5? No, you don't do that. And you don't really talk too much even about the flakes that fall down. What you talk about is how not being flaky will make you more attractive to the opposite sex, right? That's the benefit of not being flaky. And this shampoo happens to have a feature in pyrithione that prevents flakiness and makes you more attractive to the opposite sex. So that's basically the difference between features and benefits. The what's in it for me part is what you need to ask yourself as you create your messages. You want to make sure that you're going to resonate with the folks who have a problem, who have pain, who would like to gain something they don't have. Think about the reasons that people buy things. And it's really to solve a problem, to save some money, to gain something. I have another infographic that's available called Probiotic Marketing. That one talks about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how you can map your products or services to those needs, and then how you can map your messages and even the words, specific words that you use, to where somebody is in that hierarchy. So lots of information available on features versus benefits. And most of us, particularly product developers, love to talk about the features, but what does it do for me as the customer? What good is it, really? So that's what you want to think about, is the what's in it for them. Another question that came in says, what are some of the pros and cons of announcing new products before they're ready for delivery? This sometimes is a particularly critical question when it comes to software delivery, or even a hardware product where you might have a fixed deadline, like a trade show, where you really have to be there or you're going to miss the market window for another year. So in a case like that, you might have to pre-announce before it's available for delivery. If you're doing a fundraising campaign on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, you obviously have to announce the product beforehand and put forth the benefits that people are going to see in order to raise your money. So there are situations like that where introducing the product or announcing the product early is okay. And on the software side, saying, okay, we're going to ship version 1. It's not going to be fully functional. It might have some undocumented features. Don't call them bugs, just undocumented features. And then in version 2, we're going to do a much better job. So sometimes it's okay. Other times it's not. I remember back to the early 80s when Osborne Computer built the first luggable PC. Actually, it was not portable, it was luggable. You could put it on a cart and weighed about 35 pounds, and you could lug it from office to home or office to office. And they were selling quite a few of these things because it was a nascent market, a brand new market. And one time they announced that in 6 months, they were going to have a brand new model that was half the weight and 1/3 the price. And guess what happened to them? They were never able to deliver it because their sales of existing product died instantly. Nobody wanted this luggable when it was going to be, in 6 months, replaced with something half the weight and 1/3 the price. So in that case, pre-announcing it was the death of the organization. So again, the answer to this question, like a lot of questions, is it depends. It really depends on the product. It depends on the marketplace. It depends on the strategy. It depends on your resources and other constraints. There are a lot of things that go into answering these kinds of questions. And the key to your success is asking yourself those questions in advance, or getting someone in to help you ask those questions. Third question that came in is, what do sales trainers mean when they tell you to ask yes questions? This goes way back. I remember this from my days of selling pianos and organs. But if you take retail sales classes, they'll tell you, for example, never ask a customer, do you want to buy this or not? Ask the customer, how many would you like to buy? Or what color would you like to buy? Or when would you like it delivered, Tuesday or Thursday? What you're asking are questions that can only be answered with a yes. Does that make sense? Most people, yes, that will make sense. And you begin to get yeses. And as soon as you get about 3 or 4 yeses in a row to the questions that you ask, you'll find that the ownership of the product has transferred from you, the seller, to the other person, the buyer. In the piano business, we used to, for example, say, okay, what do you think, Mrs. Jones, would walnut or mahogany look better in your home? Oh, walnut would good. Okay. Well, we give 10 free lessons with each piano. Who's going to take those, you or daughter Judy? Well, could we have 5 apiece and then see if I want to continue? Certainly, we can do that. Piano store is going to pay for 10 lessons. He doesn't care who's going to take them. And by the way, we offer several options in terms of paying for this. We do 30 days, same as cash, 90 days, 3 equal payments with no interest, or you can finance it through your credit union or finance it through ours. Which of those would you prefer? Oh, we've saved up for this. We're going to pay cash for it. All right. Well, we deliver Tuesdays and Thursdays. Which day is better for you? Well, let's do Thursday. That's a better day. All right. Well, here, fill out your name and the address while I make sure that we can schedule it for this coming Thursday, and we'll get you going and on your way. Okay. So never did I ask them, did they want to buy the piano or not? I asked them who was going to take the lessons, what color would be best, how they wanted to pay for it, and when they wanted it delivered. And that's when the piano was actually sold, without ever asking, do you want to buy a piano? Because you don't want an answer that says no. You want one that says yes. So again, the piano story is in an ebook that's available actually on Kindle for $3, I think it is, very inexpensive. And you'll learn more about pianos than you ever needed to or wanted to. So I recommend that one to you. Now, again, if you have questions, I'd love to have them come in and love to answer them for you. You'll also find on my website, if you visit it, a lot of links and a lot of resources and information of value to you. I mentioned at the beginning that I do a lot of networking here in the Portland area and networking coaching. I also run a calendar, a subscription event calendar that only costs $5 a month that lists almost any networking event that of any value to people here in the Portland, Vancouver area. Instead of you spending 20 minutes or an hour a day or a week or even an hour a month, if your time is worth more than $5 an hour, you're probably better off outsourcing that. Let me do it. I do all of the collating and the culling, and I look at 30 plus sources each month to make sure that I get the right networking events, the ones that will be highest value to you. So if you're local here, Portland, Vancouver area, consider the subscription event calendar. For only $5 a month, it's a bargain. There are online courses, there are ebooks and more on the website, or information about them on the website. There's a new networking, business-to-business networking course on the necessities, niceties, and no-nos of business networking. That's up on Yes Course. You can find the link to that on my website, along with the marketing plan development seminar, which I developed, gosh, it's almost 3 years ago now, which is on udemy.com. You can find that link on the website. I do a lot of presentations, obviously, so I put a little ebook together on presentations that persuade that will help you build better presentations as you go forward. The marketing plan development ebook, as I said, is free. You're welcome to just request that from John at johntorino.com. I'm happy to send that off to you. The probiotic marketing infographic and slides actually sell for about $17. There's a lot of valuable information in those things. So some things are free, some things I charge for. Also, my newest book, Inspiration Now, is available. The story on power versus authority that I told is from that. There are quite a few additional stories kind of like that in Inspiration Now. It's a book that will help you set your goals, help you visualize, help you put your subconscious to work to reach the goals that you want to reach. It lets you learn how to live the life you want to live, what you desire, and what you deserve. So The Inspiration Now book is available from Amazon.com in print version or from Kindle in the ebook version. There are also links to the marketing strategy development and marketing planning development worksheets, which are fillable PDFs that you can use in your marketing planning as you go forward. So that's it for me for this morning, Monday Marketing Minutes. Next week, we will have our last program for this coming year. We're going to take a break between Christmas and New Year's. And the next program is scheduled for, I believe it's January 4th, which is the first Monday in the new year. I would encourage you to send me your questions, john@johntorino.com, so that I can include them in the viewer questions and address those in the new year. I, again, would invite you, if you'd like to be a guest speaker, to please contact me. We'd love to get you cranked in and have you be a guest speaker. I will answer any new viewer questions that come in. And I think that's it for today. So thank you very much for spending some time either live with me at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, or if you're watching the replay on YouTube. And that replay will be up in a few hours on YouTube. And so thank you, and I hope you have a great week coming up.